Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Bolt City Podcast. Dave Palet, Josh Palet, Mario Herron. Joining us, guys, right off the bat to start, former Charger wide receiver Eric Parker joins us. And Eric, we're happy to have you on because we have a ton of wide receiver questions for you. And as far as what makes a good wide receiver, what makes wide receivers struggle in the NFL. When you came out of college, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make from the speed of the college game or what you saw from defensive backs to what you see in the NFL?
I think it's the level of technique, like your proficiency, movements, like overdoing movements. Everybody gets away with that in college or high school. But when you get to the pros, you better be pretty tight with your technique. And I would say what makes a really good pro is the understanding of timing, angles, and distance, being able to catch in traffic, definitely getting off release, press releases, and, just being able to see a defense, pre-snap, and then obviously reacting or responding to it post snap. That really helps you anticipate to be very quick. And I remember us talking not too long ago about Keenan Allen, and you watch that guy; he's a master at controlling space or getting to space, manipulating it. Those kinds of guys are true route runners, technicians.
Eric, guys like Andre Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald, people say they never played with great quarterbacks. Imagine what they could have been if they were with some Hall of Fame quarterbacks. You played with two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. When you were in the league, did you realize how good Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers were, or was that just your everyday life?
I think it was everyday life, but you also know what good quarterbacks are, which they were, and they were really great teammates. They were fun to be around. They held everybody to a high standard, and if you did the same, life was great with them. Obviously, their personalities were different, but just awesome to be around. And you look back, and then you follow their career, and they turn into what they turn into. Hey, man, you had a chance to play with some of the greatest to do it.
So, Eric, I'm doing research on you, and I'm big on the nicknames, right? Like who had just the best nicknames their time playing. And I saw this one, and I thought this is the coolest nickname to have. Bondsman. You were called the Bondsman because how reliable you were on third down. Did you ever stop and realize that, this is the best nickname anyone could ever have on the Charger team? Like, were you ever this is – whoever gave this, thank you so much. This is amazing.
You know what? I prefer just EP. How about that?
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Call me EP or E-Man. I'm cool with that. The Bondsman, I don't know if I forgot who said that to me. I was just like, the Bondsman, all right, I guess I'll go with it, but that was never me. But I'll take it. No worries. At least they're looking for me on third down.
Yeah, at least they're looking for you on third down is right. All right, so Josh kind of touched on it a little bit with the quarterbacks. I was lucky enough for a long time. I saw every Charger home game from 1993 to the day they left San Diego, and then, of course, even the ones in Los Angeles. And it's amazing with all the Charger football I've seen and all the quarterbacks I've seen come in. I always say the easiest pass to catch has to be a pass from Phillip Rivers. He wasn't one of those guys, as they say in the South, could throw a football through a barn, but it always seemed like a very catchable ball. What's the difference when you're working with, let's say, those two guys?
Well, I think when you're talking about Brees and Rivers, they both threw a very catchable ball, and the ball was always out on time. So the ball was right where it had to be before you turned your head to look. So it was always halfway there by the time you turned. And they knew how to put touch. They knew when to zip it, and then they know when to put a little touch on it. And that is huge for a wide receiver. You get a lot of guys, I would say I work with high school guys now, and everybody thinks you have to have a cannon for an arm. And when you're running like a little 5-yard across the field, shallow cross, it's like, let me show this guy how hard I can throw it. That's no fun. But those guys knew where they wanted to go. And if you're working with a quarterback that does that and you know how to operate in space, man, that's like just backyard catching. And they had that. They had the touch. They could zip it, but they had the touch.
Eric, even though you play the NFL, they always say there's guys that are at a different level, if you will. Like Patrick Mahomes now, people say he's just at a different level than everybody else. When you were in the league, did you look at other receivers like Randy Moss or Terrell Owens or even guys on your own team like LT, and they were just different than everybody else?
They were, and it's probably their work habits that made them that way. and the way that they operate, off the field. They were consummate professionals. I was a fan of guys who were smaller. So a guy like Marvin Harrison, what makes a guy like him so special? Versus, a guy who's huge and he can just, knock you out of the way coming off the line of scrimmage. But what about the guy who has to work for it? Those, to me, were the people that I really enjoyed watching. I enjoyed Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne when they were at Indianapolis. They operated at a very high level. I remember, I think it was Bobby Ingram. Maybe he was with the Seahawks at the time. Those guys can get in and out of routes. So I was a fan of receivers like that.
Yeah, going off that, I listened to an interview that you did with Josh on JP25 Media. If you guys haven't heard it, go check it out as soon as you can, right after the Bolt City podcast. And in it, you mentioned how small you were coming out of high school, that you're only 145, and that kind of stuck with me right away because I was literally 140 coming out of school. I wanted to play college lacrosse, and I was going D3, and my coach goes, "We need you to put on 10 pounds." So as soon as I was like, dude, if my D3 coach said that, I can't imagine what a Division I coach was saying to you about weight. But how did you kind of overcome that kind of size that just kind of probably hit you throughout your career when people are like, oh, you're undersized? And what'd you kind of just focus on, and how much that put a chip on your shoulder going, yeah, I don't really care about my size, but I'm faster than you, I'm better than you, and I'm still going to beat you on this route. I'm still going to get open, and I'm still going to burn you on third down.
Yeah. Coming out, it was always the thing that you hear all the time. It's like, hey, you need an extra 5, 10, probably 15 pounds. And then you start thinking about it, and that's just not how I'm designed. So what do I do well? And I had to start thinking about that. So my anchor ability I didn't have a lot of girth. So I took a lot of punishment, and I didn't know how to go down. So I was always trying to be tougher than what I was. And I paid the price for that. But at some point, the 10 to 15 pounds isn't physical. It's 10 to 15 pounds or 20 pounds of mental. Living a lifestyle where you eat healthy and you sleep healthy, and the people that you keep around you, it's healthy. And you start believing in yourself that, man, no matter how big somebody is, they're not going to kill me. So you start thinking and believing in yourself a little bit more. That's what's important. When they tell you need 10 or 15 pounds, what they're telling you is, you're just currently not good enough. But I think the best abilities that an athlete possesses is probably his durability. You're not going to make the club in the tub, and your coachability. And I started listening to coaches a little bit better. And I'm glad that I had a guy like James Lofton around, and the teammates that I did.
Speaking of coaches, Marty Schottenheimer, it was one that never reached the Super Bowl, didn't win a Super Bowl. He's actually the winningest coach in NFL history to never win a Super Bowl. You had a chance to be around Marty. We talk about head coaching all the time on this show and saying, here's a guy that was 14-2 and then lost his job. Mm-hmm. But how did Marty deal with guys that had the talent the Charger teams had that you were on? I mean, as Josh mentioned, the quarterbacks, but then you have, LaDainian Tomlinson, you have Antonio Gates. The defensive side had a bunch of studs on it too. And again, a 14-2 record's not a fluke. How does a guy like Marty Schottenheimer take control of the locker room, and what did he mean to you?
Oh, man. I have a dad. I love my dad. He's actually coming back into town today. I love Coach Lofton. And Marty Schottenheimer is somebody that gave me a chance. He's old school, East Coast, Pennsylvania, and he's tough. He played the game. I think he got about 6 years in the league, so he understood what we were going through. But Marty was very good at establishing the vision, and this is how we're going to do it. And I'm going to tell you something, man. When he stepped in the room, you knew there was one general, and he gave you every opportunity to be successful. You were going to meet the standard, preferably exceed it, and he expected you to be a professional. That's how he dealt with me. And he cut no one, any quarter. And now if you were really special, then obviously you'd have your own relationship, and he would tell you that not everybody's not going to be treated the same, but at least he was up front, and he was a fair man. He was a hard man, but he was a fair man. And if you were there to do the job, it was great to play for him. I couldn't imagine playing for anybody else. Best coach, best head coach I've ever had.
That's good to hear, man. As a fan, I was sad to see him go after 14-2. I was disappointed. There was a report that came out today that the Chargers ranked towards the bottom when it came to facilities and how attractive it is for free agents to come there. When you were a San Diego Charger, did you feel that way? Did you feel like guys didn't want to come to San Diego? Was it a cool thing to be a Charger back in the day? Did you get that vibe from any of the guys in the league?
Okay, so check this out. One of my favorite players, receivers growing up, it was like Jerry Rice, James Lofton, and they were like the top 3 or 4 receivers. That was my position coach. And then my favorite teams growing up were the San Diego Chargers because they played on a baseball field, and it'd be like 50 below in Illinois, and it was sunshine. Like, where is that? San Diego. My other favorite team growing up was the Chiefs, and my favorite coach was Marty Schottenheimer, a guy with the yellow glasses. You know, so I have all these people that are there. Seau was one of my favorite guys ever. Posters on the wall, you know, and I look around and I'm playing with these guys. So I'm working there. And it's like, wow, man, I get to be around this. So it didn't matter to me that the nicest facility. Dude, I've been waiting my whole life to be an NFL player, and I'm complaining that, we don't have food. Yeah, we did. We had great food. Was it comparable to the way other places did it? I don't know. I wasn't anywhere else. But I was in the NFL. I was getting paid good money, and I was around people that were awesome. So I'm going to get it in. You show me where I need to go. Tell me what I need to do. I got you, and I'm going to do it the best that I can. So to me, it was an awesome experience. And I'm in Southern California, where I always wanted to be, and I'm still here.
As a Midwest kid, I can't imagine how nice it is to be in a place that's sunny all the time. I wish I could know the feeling. On that 14-2 team, you guys obviously had studs across the board. I mean, you had Junior, you had LT, Gates, and Rivers. A lot of those guys still pretty young in their career as well. So in that locker room, though, who was the leader? Who was like the one that really was the soul of the team that got you guys up every Sunday with so much talent that you guys had on that roster?
I would say the 2 most memorable for me were Rodney Harrison and Junior Seau. Period. Hands down. And you had other guys that were around you. You know, I had Breeze sitting on my right side. I had Flutie sitting on my left side my rookie year. But Junior was the guy. He was there before everybody. So was Rodney. And, you know, Rodney, I remember a story with Rodney Harrison. It was practice squad. I made the practice squad. He says, great, fantastic, you're here. But guess what? I'm coming for you. And he let everybody else go out. He said, just hang back. And what he was just telling me was, you get paid to practice. Sundays, it'll come, it'll be there, but make sure you put in good work. But if you're not on your job, I'm hunting for you. And I was like, I believe you too. So I'm going to make sure that I put in the best work. At that time, I was a practice squad guy. I was giving look squad, you know, the best that I could. Pete Carmichael was the guy who was quality control, and I would give everything I could for him. And in my mind, you couldn't tell me I wasn't a starter. And that's how I prepared myself. But Rodney was awesome.
You know, as a guy that was there, obviously as a media member on the outside of the circle that kind of just walked in and had a chance to talk to a bunch of you guys, I agree with that. It was Rodney and Junior. And one of the things that I always loved about Rodney was he would say, you know, we're going to punch you in the mouth. We're going to punch you in the mouth, and we're going to set the tone, and then you're going to have to deal with it. He said and did a lot of things that probably doesn't work in today's NFL. But Rodney Harrison was always my guy because of that. He wanted to set the tone. That, you know, the old saying is, you know, that guys will say, you know, there are 3 kinds of people in the world, you know. Those who make it happen, those who watch it happen, and those who wonder what the F just happened. And Rodney was a guy that was going to make it happen. And I was always a huge fan of that. And as you said, not everybody's that way, and you can't have all 53 guys that way. But I love the fact he was a guy that set the tone, not only on the field, but also him and Junior were the first guys you always saw working out in the morning. And I know you're early riser. You're one of those guys. I'm going to get my work in. You aren't going to beat me here. And I wish everyone on that team had that same attitude. I think the Chargers would have a Super Bowl by now.
I was pissed that I couldn't be part of the Breakfast Club, but I would come in right afterwards. You know, the Breakfast Club was this morning workout for the veterans only, and you had to be, you know, vetted to come in there and work out. But hey, whatever they're going to do, I'm coming in right after. But one of my favorite plays that I was ever a part of, I went in for my first preseason game. I think it was versus the Colts or somebody like that. And I had a force block. Run was coming my way, and it was like quarters coverage. And I was like, okay, that near safety's walking down. I'm going right at his ear hole, and I'm putting the top of my helmet in it. And I hit him. The guy comes off his feet. I'm feeling like a giant. I look over to the sideline, and Rodney Harrison and Junior Seau are together right there. Do it again, Parker. Do it again. So, yeah, I like that. And I think I got 4 plays that game, but I made that one count, and I really wanted to. To me, it was very honorable because I wanted to represent what they were in practice and on the game.
Right.
I grew up watching those guys.
All right, Eric, I'm lucky to know you on a personal level. We live in the same area. Well, I live in Nashville now, but in San Diego, we live in the same area. And
Yep.
I know that you coach high school football, okay? And I want you to be honest with me. I'm going to ask you a question, and you got to be 100% honest with me. You always are, but you got to be honest here.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You started over Wes Welker when he was on the Chargers, correct?
Yes, but he
Okay.
was he came in, and I want to say, what was his rookie year? Like 04? Was it 04?
Yep.
04 or
Mhm.
03? One of those two.
04.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
so
he
my
came
question to you is
Go ahead.
my question to you is, 1, were you better than him? And 2, did you know he was going to be that guy?
I did not know he was going to be that guy, but I know he was a slippery water bug coming out of Texas Tech. And at records, that guy was awesome. And he had the toughness. He had the toughness to match. So I wasn't as shifty as he was. I think I could cover more ground. But, man, he was so shifty. I had the ability to, like, full speed and stop very well. My stopping ability was tremendous, and I could get up off the ground. But that guy could really see the field and just shifty, man. Not like Sproles. Sproles is on another level, but Wes was just fantastic. I'm happy for him. That guy was awesome.
This question could be a little off topic, but I have to bring it up. You're a Tennessee guy. I'm a typical off topic type of person. You're a Tennessee guy. They had a drought for a little bit. Let's just act like there's 2 non-Bama guys in here right now. How good did it feel? And maybe did you walk down the street a little bit and, like, give the bird to the Palets, being like, hey, Bama's not bad. Bama kind of sucks now. But how cool was it, though, just being like an alum and just fan of the program going, hey, we're finally, at the level that we were at when I was there, and just to be competing again and to once again be whooping the ass of Alabama and really, making Josh Palet sound butthurt text. But, like, how great was that?
I never flipped the bird because I like them too much. But my class at Alabama was, I want to say, maybe the only class that never lost to Alabama. And that needs to have some context to it. I think at the time, Alabama was on probation from 97. I was there 97 to 01. So that was something that perhaps was going on. And then I think the University of Miami was also on probation at the time. But let me know if I'm wrong or not. So we were winning a lot of that South Florida, and we were winning that Georgia-Alabama recruiting war. That's where the guys were coming, was Tennessee. So that might be one of the reasons why.
Yeah, too. Eric never talks trash. I mean, we see Eric. Eric lives in the neighborhood, and he's one of the best guys going. And I was trying to get him to be kind of a word of encouragement to kids and stuff. He never talks trash about Tennessee to Alabama to us. Because I tell you what, Eric, my feeling is you understand greatness and you understand what Nick Saban is, and that's why I think that you kind of admire it, even though it's a different team. Speaking of what Eric does, and let our audience know, Eric again is a great friend and he's a neighbor. But he coaches in the community. A lot of guys don't give back or feel like maybe they don't have anything to offer. He has a ton to offer, and he has 2 sons that are extremely talented athletes as well. But the school, Mario, that Eric adds, Helix High School. Helix is the one that had Reggie Bush and Alex Smith on the same high school team. I mean, how crazy is that? But Helix has always been a powerhouse. He's a wide receivers coach. He's a track coach. Right now we pulled him off the track because he has a job to do. But Eric, can you talk about real quick about what it's like and why you give back to kids in the community?
Yeah, I don't necessarily look back at like giving back to the community. I coach selfishly because I like coaching and it keeps me close to the game. I get free training partners, and my dad and my uncles were coaches, and that's what I've known. So I was a gym rat growing up. I grew up in the gym, wrestling room for that. But I just love being a part of young people's lives. I see a lot of myself in them, and they want to go to the places a lot of times that you want to go. A lot of these guys want to go to Division I college football. Great. Let's get started. A lot of guys want to take it past that. Well, what kid doesn't? But I also know that a lot of guys are not going to go that route. Less than 1% go at any level, get any kind of money to go on to play college ball, NAIA to Division I. But they're all probably going to be dads. What was your experience playing for me? And I want it to be a great experience. Football sucks. It's hard. It's the best sport to me in the world, but it's hard. Why am I going to make your life miserable? It's not my time anymore. So I want to instill in you all of the techniques that I've learned, all the lessons that I've learned over the years. And if you want to become a technician, if you want to learn the art of route running, I'm here. And I'm a nerd about the catching and the route running and all. I nerd out on that kind of stuff. And I just like seeing young men move ahead in life, connect the dots, and they have somebody they can turn to and talk to and say, hey, coach, hey, I need a letter of recommendation. Well, I can say, hey, man, you were stand up as a young man. I would love to do that for you. And I love developing the relationships with my guys.
Eric, really appreciate your time, man. That's fantastic. Really appreciate your time talking Charger football, a little bit of a stroll down memory lane, and we'd love to do it again with you down the line. And I know we interrupted your training day with your track team, but thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys, and I'll see you around.
You got it. Take care of that.
Okay,
that's, of course, Eric Parker right there, number 88 for your San Diego Chargers. And of course, great things that he, has to say right there, guys, as far as, what he does for not only what the game means to him, what he does for kids in the community to help them hopefully reach that next level. But it was fun talking a little bit about, the Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers stories. But one thing about him, and Josh and I have seen this, Mario, is when you go to Eric's house, he has a football on the wall that was given to him by Drew Brees. Do you remember the story where Drew Brees sent out, it was like 100 footballs to wide receivers he threw touchdown passes to, and with a personal letter? And he has one of those from Drew Brees, and it meant the world to him. Eric's not one of those guys you walk into his house and you see framed jerseys or helmets and that kind of stuff, but that football meant something to him. Like if you saw him in the community, you wouldn't know Eric Parker was an NFL player. He doesn't talk like that or live in the past. But I find that pretty fascinating that another player touched him enough to say, hey, you were important in my Hall of Fame career, and I want you to have this.
Yeah, Eric is just like a great guy. I'm super thankful that we actually know him on a personal level. When you meet Eric, you were like, are you sure you played the NFL? Because he's so humble. A lot of these guys, well, wide receivers is one of those things that's true. It's like a lot of them are jerks, and you don't want to be friends with them. But Eric's the opposite. He's so nice, so cool. We'd even talk about who his college quarterback was. It was Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
You go Peyton Manning, and then you go to Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers. Like that's
Doug Flutie before that. Doug Flutie when he first got there.
Yeah, man. So pretty cool.
No, that was awesome. Million thanks to Eric. And I wanted to tell a story about this, but I was like, I don't feel like I'd be too much of a creeper reading into his past. But there's a great story on Bleacher Report. If you literally look up Eric Parker Bleacher Report, there's a fantastic article that really represents the character of him, of this guy going, I was a little kid, a huge Chargers fan. And it's just a great story of the Chargers player that really went out of his way to say hi to him, went out of his way to talk to him, was Eric. So if that doesn't tell you the type of person he is, then I don't know what does. But thanks for him coming on. That was awesome. And, I just can't believe we couldn't talk more about how just Tennessee really beat the hell out of Bama. And, God, I mean, just a letdown year for Will Anderson and Bryce Young.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Look, what did we win? 15 in a row, Josh? And he's going to bring this 1 year up? All right. So one last thing on Eric that I found fascinating is, and this I think is the interview that Josh did with him, the one you said go check out on the JP25 media page. But when Charger fans always talk about the Marlon McCree game. Okay, that was the game where that was the Chargers. They're going to win the Super Bowl that year. They're hosting the Patriots in San Diego. Everything is going the way. It's a disaster. It's one of those when you talk to any Charger fan, they still want to throw up. I mean, it's the biggest punch in the stomach. And everyone calls it the Marlon McCree game. When you bring that game up to Eric, he will say that game is his fault. And I go, that says something. Professional athletes usually don't talk that way. Matter of fact, people love to point the finger. And he'll say, Marlon McCree, yeah, you guys remember that. But he goes, I had a terrible game. He goes, I dropped a punt. I dropped passes. I didn't play the way I'm supposed to play. And the fact that he wore that when no one else was making him wear that. I mean, nobody calls out that game as the Eric Parker game. They call it as the Marlon McCree game. And yet Eric goes, no, we shouldn't have been in that situation anyway. That was on me. We lost that game because of me. Man, it says a lot about what a stand-up guy he actually is.
Yeah, he's a high character guy. I wish he was my high school coach when I was in high school. All right, so we have a lot of stuff to talk about. Yeah, he was
your
not
high school
my
coach. Is gonna be. Yeah, no, your high school coach is gonna get super mad when he hears what you just said.
No, dude, Mario. He coaches at like the best high school in San Diego. He's awesome. All right, so there's a lot of things
when they said Reggie Bush, I was like, "Ooh."
Dude, can you imagine Alex Smith and Reggie Bush were on the same team? How crazy is that?
I would simply not play. That's what I would do.
All right, Mario, I want you to talk about what you sent in our group message today. It was that report card for the Chargers. Can you shed some light on what that meant?
Yeah, so for people that don't know, what the NFL likes to do is they have players do a report card, and what it is, it's like, what is the, like, they have them rate stuff. They give it a grade. So like facilities, food, nutrition, weight room, strength coaches, training room, train staff, locker room, team travel. Pretty much what it does is it helps organizations know what to upgrade and to make better for them. And two, it lets players know, hey, this is what you're getting yourself into. So it's not like, you think this is Disney World, but you walk in there and it's Kings Island, and you're like, wait, what the hell did I just sign up for? No, it's that way that more. Kings Island's great too, by the way. It's fantastic. Good skyline chili there. Just saying, it's a little Disney World and Kings Island's a big difference. So they do this, and the Chargers, how do I say this? They're towards the bottom of the league in their grades. And it's bad. To put perspective of who they did better than, and this was like the only team, Washington Commanders.
Oh boy.
Yeah. That's who we are. And stop me if you didn't see this coming. The worst category that they got a grade in was training room at an F-. That was their worst. F-.
I didn't even know they gave those out.
Yeah. Training staff was a C-. Food and nutrition was also an F. And then team travel was a B, and strength coaches was an A-. Those were and then the rest was just poop. Awful.
Okay. I have a huge problem with the training staff being an F-. You're in Los Angeles. You're not in some small town in the middle of nowhere where there's no good training staff. You literally have the pick of the litter between USC, UCLA, and 1,000 hospitals. But yet you're going to be an F-. That makes zero sense. That's the one thing that really pisses me off. The food's ridiculous. You're in the NFL. You should be having great food. I don't know why all these places don't have great food. But the training staff, and we've seen it for as long as all of us have been alive with these injuries, fix it. Like, what's the holdup here? Are you going cheap on the training staff? Dave, do you have any idea of why this would even be?
No, here's the deal, man. There's four things. If I'm recruiting right now, if I'm recruiting, basically, my UPS guy. If I'm recruiting right now for the Chargers, for a free agent that I want to come and play in LA, I go, it's easy. This is what I say. Number one, you have Justin Herbert. Okay, you got a star quarterback. 2, you play in the greatest stadium in the NFL, in SoFi Stadium. 3 is you have fantastic weather. And you go, well, what's the big deal with the weather? You play indoors. This is important because every NFL veteran hates training camp, okay? The one thing you have in Southern California is you don't have any humidity. Whatever the temperature is, when it says that they're in Irvine where they do their workouts basically, and it's an average of 73 degrees. I mean, you can feel the ocean breeze coming right off the water. It is basically everything you would want as a professional football player of not feeling uncomfortable when you have to go through the worst days. And then the stuff that you can control is the food. It makes zero sense why the food is terrible. The food should be fantastic. I've seen the food at what the Chargers offer the players, and I've seen the food that Josh was offered at Alabama. Night and day. On a scale of 1 to 10, Josh got a 10. The Chargers got a 1. All right. And when I listen to those grades aren't wrong. Those grades are 100% accurate. That's not just, hey, let's go after the Charger organization. Things can be better, and it's stuff that the Chargers can control. That's embarrassing. And how are you supposed to go ahead and get the free agents you want to actually win a Super Bowl if you have those kind of grades? Because word gets around the NFL that that's what the Chargers are, and it's something they need to fix, and they should have fixed it years ago.
It's embarrassing just because you have so many things going for you. You know, like you mentioned it. California is beautiful. Okay, I live in the almost cusp, the crap hole, not the crap hole of America, because it's actually kind of nice, but certain parts of the Midwest are the crap hole of America, aka Wisconsin. So when you have Wisconsin and you're the Green Bay Packers, you got to make sure your facilities are cream of the crop, right? Like you just have to. Food has to be great. Training room has to be great. Everything has to be great just to make it a little bit more attractive. Like you just do. I'm sorry you're in a part of that country. That's just, it is what it is. And then like LA, it's like, dude, that is like every person's dream. I'm going to be rich. I got the beach. It's hot out. You get one day of cold. Like you said, like the humidity's not even bad. It's not like you're in Texas or Arizona where it's like in your freaking face heat. And you have all that. And the fact that you still fall short, one, shows laziness. I think, in my opinion, it's like, that's just laziness, dude. Like the fact that this isn't just a C or above is so embarrassing. Like, dude, just get it to a point where it's acceptable. Nothing should be an F for a team that's in Los Angeles. Just simply shouldn't be that. Like it's things that need to be fixed. It's just one of those where it's like, how is this a problem right now? Like this shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I think Dave nailed it. The things that you can control are a plus. All these other places in the Midwest and the East Coast that have terrible weather, they can't do anything about it. The things we can control, we fail at. And as a fan, it drives you crazy. Okay, so some good news is Tom Telesco pulled a Leonardo DiCaprio in, I'm drawing a blank on the movie. What's the movie with where he's in Wall Street? Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street.
I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen. He said Keenan Allen's not going anywhere. The Chargers are $21 million over the salary cap, and he decides to stick with the veteran wide receiver. Are you guys surprised? Mario, I'll start with you. Are you surprised that they kept Keenan Allen?
No. For a couple of reasons. One, I'm going to refer back to Eric Parker that we just had, and please make sure you guys go rewind and check that out because that's a fantastic interview, and he was really awesome. He, similar to Keenan Allen, Mr. Third Down, Mr. Reliable. Keenan Allen, that's who he was all year. He's Justin Herbert's number one target, and you got to keep your QB happy. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of that in there. Like, this is his most reliable target, so why would we be taking that away? And I think it also shows a focus on maybe what they're going for in the draft, where it's like, okay, if we're going to keep Allen, then I imagine to save money, one, please restructure the living hell out of Joey Bosa's contract. Just please do. Save as much money as you can because obviously he's not playing up to it. Restructure Corey Lindsey. You could cut Gerald Everett and save $425 million. I mean, $4.25 million, not $425 million. That'd be baseball numbers. But so you could do that. Save it. Be like, Everett, you gave us everything you could. You did good. We overused you, which, I mean, is you're tight end 2. We treat you as tight end 1, and you did what you could. So we appreciate that. So I think I'm not that surprised. You could save money in different ways. You could cut a lineman. I just forgot his name. Matt Feiler. Is that how you say it? Feiler, right? Yeah.
Oh, bye, dude. Bye now. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could do that. Cut him. Yeah. See ya. There's the door, buddy. Never come back, please. And move Slayer around to his spot. So I think there's other ways you could save money. So that part, I'm not surprised. I think it does scream that maybe they're going to get a tight end. If they cut Everett, I think they're slowly going to get a tight end in the first round. What do you think, Dave? Because I'm curious please tell me I'm wrong here because I'm a little bit.
No, I don't disagree. Okay. No, I don't disagree with anything you just said. It's really funny how the Chargers, though, you had Antonio Gates forever, who was, your Hall of Fame tight end, and then you just rifling through new tight ends, every year. You're just trying to kind of put pieces together. I agree with you that you could see them drafting the tight end, and there are about 3 of them available, and you're seeing different things that they could be looking at a couple free agent tight ends that maybe, Dalton Schultz, you're hearing that maybe he reunites with Kellen Moore. different situations for the Chargers to fix that problem. I think they could do it. Gerald Everett did everything you asked of him, except for having enough win to go for that down against Kansas City. You're right. I mean, there's really nothing to complain about what he provided the team. The guys you talked about changing out, yeah, it makes 100% sense. With Joey Bosa, and it always comes down to, I know it sounds like I trashed Joey Bosa. I'm just saying Joey Bosa was never worth the money. You should have never offered Joey Bosa that contract. You should have used Joey Bosa as a trade piece years ago, and they didn't. And Joey Bosa is not Nick Bosa, and he's never become the player, never will be the player Charger fans thought they were getting when they drafted him out of Ohio State. Keenan Allen part, I like for a couple different reasons. One is, Eric talked about the spacing on the field. When you see Keenan Allen on TV, he's impressive. When you see him in person, and I'm a fan, believe it or not, of watching games on TV more than going to the games. But one thing you catch with going to the game, in person, you see the whole field, and you realize how he's able to get space. And he's not the fastest guy out there. He has, an IQ through the roof, and he understands where he needs to be. And he was always wide open for Rivers, and he's always been wide open for Herbert. When he was hurt this year for half the season, it seemed like a dramatic dip in the offense, and the team missed him. Also, if I'm Tom Telesco, guys, I'm like, look, I know I'm taking a lot of criticism. Like maybe I'm on the hot seat. The one thing I can always say if I'm Tom Telesco, I drafted that guy, number 13 in the third round, when no one else saw anything out of him. And yet he's the best draft pick I ever had. If I keep him around, people got to keep patting me on the back a little bit on why I have this job and justify why I'm still here. Because Keenan, the one thing that scares me about Keenan is he's getting up in age. And when you get up in age, injuries happen. And we saw it last year. And you wonder, was that a fluke thing, or is that something that's going to continue to happen? I hate to say it. It's one of those things that's going to continue to happen, because that's what happens when you get older. You start to break down.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of on both sides of the fence of this one. The part of me that doesn't like it is because we're $20 million over the salary cap. Maybe you can cut him and save a ton of money. But the thing I really do like about it is you show your quarterback, we're going to help you out. And maybe this is Justin Herbert talking to Tom Telesco management behind closed doors. Nobody can see it, and says, I want one thing, and that's Keenan Allen. So maybe that's what happened. I have no idea. But Keenan Allen absolutely is the captain of the team, and he's somebody that I'm happy that's still a Charger. It shows me that the team wants to win now, and as a fan, you always want to see that. So let's talk about free agency. There's a list. There's a few guys here, a handful of guys here. I'm just going to go one at a time. You guys tell me if you still want to be a Charger or not next season, okay? Mario, you go first. Drew Tranquil.
Absolutely. Please stay a Charger.
Okay.
Was one of the only guys that gave everything he wanted and on defense every single snap. Took his helmet off after a play that was pretty sick too. Please keep him. He's gonna be expensive though.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay,
I'm with you.
All right, Trey Pipkins, the right tackle. What about you, Dave? What do you think?
How much does he make? Do you have any idea? I mean, is it worth keeping? Yeah, I'd say keep him. I say keep him. I don't know. Here's the deal. Damn it. I haven't gone through who's available and what.
900,000.
Yeah.
That's how much he makes a year.
Keep him.
Okay. What about you,
He'll
Mario?
be asking for more
Trey
than that, though, right?
Oh, yeah, he'll probably be asking for more. I'm just saying
Yeah.
right now he makes 900,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of comes down to who you have to keep between him and Drew, because they're going to be the most expensive. Out of the two, look, one's protecting $100 million investment, the other one's not. So, yes, the Trey. And if I have to pick between, I'm picking the guy that's going to cover my investment, and the other guy, I'm sorry, you're going to have to. Position's not as important as it used to be.
Okay. What about Kyle Van Noy?
Bye.
Current contract is $2.2 million. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Send him in sing song.
Hate to say it, you aren't going to miss him. He wasn't what we thought we were getting. You aren't going to miss him.
Okay. Morgan Fox. Last year he signed a $1.1 million contract. I think he played above that.
He sure did. Now, let's say he goes in and asks for, let's say he asks for double that money. Is he worth double that money? He probably is worth double the money, but I don't know. What he asked for. I mean, here's the deal. This is where fans fall into trouble. They fall in love with the players, right? If you watched every Charger game, you fell in love with him, right? And his dog. And so you go, what do you do? Yeah, he played above his contract.
How about you, Mario?
Yeah, he played more his contract. It's a very thin group at D-line, and he was one that played every single snap, outperformed, and played with energy. He was kind of in that Drew Tranquil camp where it's like, dude, this guy came to freaking play every Sunday. And I can't say that for everyone else on that side of the football. So I would love to keep Morgan.
I like him. I want to keep him as well. All right, last person, Bryce Callahan. Last year, he signed for $1.2 million. What do you think, Mario?
Love this guy, former Bear, and I think he's gonna be a former Charger. He's a rental. I think he's a good player, but he's a rental type. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, he's call him like we call him Hertz. Hertz can be his nickname because he's car rental. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just a rental, come in for a year. There's the door. He's a good player, but he's a rental to me. I would be fine.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, again, you watch and you say, man, you see something special and you go, this guy could be, great. And he can contribute and you need him to show up every single week. He's not a star every week. There are times he does things where you go, man, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm waiting for. And then he kind of disappears a little bit. Then he comes back. I kind of agree with Mario. If he's gone next year, it's not like, hey, guys, I don't know about you, but I'm not doing this show anymore. I'm not watching any more Charger games. Bryce Callahan's gone. It's not that. You aren't going to miss him. You're just going to keep rolling.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on that. It's hard for me to look at these contracts and not think about baseball, where Manny Machado just signed a contract for $32 million a year, right? And he's not getting hit in the face every play. I mean, who's negotiating these contracts for these NFL guys? How's this a thing?
Well, there shouldn't be a salary cap.
$1 million. Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. The NFL makes so much money, but you got guys that are giving their bodies for the game $1 million a year.
Yeah, well, we talked about this, a couple months ago, but this is where the NFL's the most ridiculous sport going. And this is because egos get in the way. The Major League Baseball has the strongest union in the world, and they went and they got attorneys to run their union, whereas the NFL went and got former players. And the idea that you ever at any time fell for the idea of a salary cap is insane. It's the wealthiest sport. Yet guys, literally their lives are shortened by playing this game. There are guys who can't walk. There are guys who say they can't play with their kids and they're still in their 30s and they can't even jump. And then over and over again, we've seen guys pass. We know all the sad stories about NFL players, yet they were dumb enough to put a salary cap in. There should not be a salary cap involved in the NFL. I mean, this is when we talk about life and death, things you do for a living and put your body at risk. This is the ultimate. And yet the NFL is in a situation where guys are fighting for $900,000. And a guy like Manny Machado could basically, sit out on Saturday and Sunday of a 3-game series and make more money in those 2 games he sits out than those guys do make an entire NFL season.
Yeah, Dave, I'll take you one further. The franchise tag's ridiculous.
Insane.
It's
I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous.
Yeah. Like at that part where obviously MLB has it cut where, you can have 6 all-stars and somehow pay them. It doesn't make sense. NBA has it where it's a player-ran league in the NBA. It's just simply what it is. And Chargers, Chargers too, but the whole NFL kind of needs a little bit more of that. I think we are heading that direction a little bit more. The franchise tag probably needs to be abandoned, but I do think you're seeing a little bit more of the players have, I would say just a tiny bit more, but it's not like a Jay Crowder type of player is not forcing his way out of any team in the NFL. that ain't happening there. But, you're getting to a point where if you have a top level QB and he wants his way out, he'll get his way out. So I think that's a minor step, but yeah, all that stuff's ridiculous. And first off, if my DMs are open, if you can really explain the NFL salary cap, I was trying to do that today and figure out how much money if we cut this guy and cut this guy. Dude, I'm telling you, that's freaking, bro, that is a challenge.
The NFL owners are genius. Josh, I know you probably have something to say about it, but real quick on this. Do you understand there's a rule in the NFL about taking your football helmet off on the field, right? When the play is over and if you take your helmet off on the field, there's a penalty. We all know it. Why do you think that is? You know why that rule exists? That rule exists because the NFL owners only want you to pay attention to the team. They want the Cowboys, the Chargers, the Steelers. So when guys are let go, like guys we just mentioned, and the lifespan of an NFL player is 2.5 years and they're gone, you're still following the team. You don't say, oh, I'm done because, Trey Pipkins is gone. You know what I mean? It's not that
Yeah.
deal. They don't want to have individuals. That's why there's a uniform police even in the NFL. There are guys who walk the field who look to see, are your socks the same length as the guy next to you? Does that guy's towel the same length as the guy next to you? And if it's not, they get fined a tremendous amount of money. And everything's about taking the individual out of the NFL. The only position that really has the individual label is quarterback and wide receiver to an extent. But you don't take your helmet off on the field for a reason. The NFL owners know exactly what they're doing. I mean, we could go on and on into this thing, how you don't get a pension unless you play 4 years, yet the average NFL player only plays 2.5. So they aren't paying. You don't get your pension till I think age 55. The average NFL player dies at 53. They have this thing down to a science. But I'll tell you right now, as a fan, I'm not playing and I'm not owning a team, none of that stuff. I will continue to watch this sport. I miss it more than you can imagine in the last 3 weeks since the Super Bowl happened. And I look at that. I think I've said this before. It's like watching that movie Gladiator. I'm watching guys kill themselves and entertain me. And yet, man, I'm sitting in the stands and I'm loving every minute and coming back every single Sunday because that's what I am. And that's what most of America is doing too. And this is the sport that makes the money, not Major League Baseball, not the NBA, not the NHL. This is far and away the number one sport in the United States, and it's not going anywhere.
Wild, man. Wild that this is the way the contracts are set. The NFL owners are geniuses and jerks at the same time. Well, I have one last question, and this is out of nowhere. I didn't tell you guys I was going to do this. All right, here you go. The Commanders are known for being the worst organization when it comes to treating their players. If Dan Snyder got out of there and a new owner had to come into the NFL and he was the new owner of the Commanders, who would you like to be an NFL owner? But he has to be a celebrity, somebody that we all know.
Oh, that's funny. Sure thing. Do you have somebody on the top of your mind, Josh?
Kind of.
Who'd you go to, Josh?
I want LeBron. I want LeBron to own an NFL team. I think
now LeBron already doesn't LeBron already? I mean, LeBron owns part of the Boston Red Sox.
Red Sox,
right?
Yep.
And Arsenal.
Arsenal right? Is he also part of the Penguins? I think it's a hockey team. He's part owner of. I don't know. But that's interesting.
I want him to link up with like Jay-Z or something and own an NFL team. I think it'd be cool for the league.
That'd be cool.
I'll go that route. I'm gonna go Magic Johnson. I'm gonna go Magic. I'm gonna say Magic because you want it to succeed. I'm not a Commanders fan. None of us are. But what I mean is you want whoever to step in who gets this opportunity. You want it to be successful and not a joke. Magic understands he's owned, 3 teams. I think he's part of the LAFC, the soccer team, the Lakers at one time, the Dodgers, who, by the way, have been in the postseason every year since Magic's group bought the team. When you go to a Dodger game, for the people who haven't been, the Dodgers are sounds like a Laker game. It is crazy loud. The music's loud. The fan base is into it. They run it like an NBA game. There's excitement factor there. And then you go, here's a guy with a ton of rings. I mean, how many rings has he won? Also, he's the owner of the Sparks, I think, at one time too, even. But he has so many championship rings and has won at every level, and everybody loves Magic. I think Magic would be a great owner.
Would he show up to the owner meetings? Because Rob Pelinka said he didn't do anything with the Lakers.
That's what I was going to say, too. Funny. He won 3 rings in 1 year.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, I think Magic would show up. Magic always talked about owning an NFL team, always. And, one time I remember when the Raiders were in Los Angeles, Magic would be on the sideline for the Raider games and then play at the Forum a couple hours later, play a night game on Sundays. But he always went to those games. He always talked about owning an NFL team. He's a billionaire. I mean, he can't do it by himself, but I'm sure he knows enough people to do it.
Yeah, for sure. What do you got, Mario? Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, what did you say?
First, Josh, Dave, I know you knew this, but Josh, did you know that Magic came out of retirement and played for, I think it was 96.
Like 95?
96.
Or,
yeah.
96?
No,
yeah,
my dad
was
the
January
biggest
96.
Laker fan. Yeah,
okay. So I was reading Jeff Perlman's book. You're welcome, Jeff. Send the check in the mail. And I read that part, and I had no idea. I double check. I fact checked Jeff Perlman. Funny enough, I was like, I bet he's telling the truth here. But I was like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it came back. That was just side stupid thing. Probably a good off-air thing. But
you're young. That's why that happened before you're even born.
Oh
right?
yeah.
I mean, let me give you a couple Magic things for you. All right, just because you said it, and we just talked about Magic. behind my head, I have a Junior Seau jersey over here, autographed Junior Seau jersey, and above on the other side, I have Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. It was Larry Bird's retirement, where Magic opens up the Laker warm up, and there's a Celtic shirt that he wore for Larry Bird. But anyway, Magic was my guy when I was a kid, and one of the best jobs I ever had. I had 10 years of covering the Lakers. And so I got to cover the Lakers in the early 90s into the beginning of the 2000s. About 2003, I think, was the last year I stopped. Anyway, I'd get to the Forum at 2:00 in the afternoon, and it would be Chick Hearn setting up, and I would be there, and there'd be like Magic and like Kurt Rambis, who was retired too, taking on like the Lakers starting five. And guess who won every time? Magic won. I mean, Magic wasn't playing anymore, and it was ridiculous how good he still was. And he wanted to play, and of course, people were afraid to play with Magic because of HIV. Well, he comes out of retirement. I'm like, oh my God, I know he can still play because I've watched it. I've watched him shoot, and I've watched him do everything he does. He's still in great shape. But for a guy who lived in San Diego, and I'd have to drive to the Forum and drive home, I remember that day that he was going to play the Golden State Warriors. He's coming out of retirement. It was a gigantic story. And I'm driving there. I'm on cloud nine. And then I got to interview Magic after the game. Man, I couldn't believe it. First time I ever had a chance to talk to my hero. And then I'm driving home, and I swear I could have walked home. I'm floating on air, man, of what I just saw. And Magic was great in that game. He was great. You could look YouTube it, look it up. And it was awesome. And the sad thing was he did not come back. He played fine. That was the season ended when Nick Van Exel pulled a 1-2-3 Cancun line. And Magic's like, these players have changed. But if Magic would have hung one more year, Mario, you would have had Magic, Shaq, and Kobe all on the same team. If he would have come back. And he said, I'm out because Nick Van Exel ruined this for me.
And then you know who would have said you're never going to see a ring ever again? A little guy named Michael Jordan. That's who would have said that. I might have freaking heard of him. Okay, so back to who you'd like to see buy a team. You said his name, but Shaq. Shaq was the first guy into my head. Shaq would be cool.
I like that a lot.
He would turn into a whole
That'd
event.
be awesome.
Yeah, he'd be cool with that. I think
Shaq's personality too big for NBA owners.
Oh, if Magic's isn't, then Shaq's isn't, dude. You kidding me? Come on. But who's famous from DC that would buy it?
From DC?
I'm trying to think. That was my first
name.
Know
Who's from DC?
I don't. Yeah, I'll look up famous people from DC. What were you saying, Josh?
No, I don't think your personality can be too big for the NFL. Jerry Jones has a giant personality, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. How many guys in the room can have those personalities? I mean, Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft control the NFL, right? I mean, there was a talk that Jeff Bezos was going to jump in, and the NFL doesn't want him, which I didn't understand Jeff Bezos even wanting to be an NFL owner for the fact you own Thursday Night Football. All right. You own Amazon. If you can't be an owner and own one of the networks, would you give up Thursday Night Football to own the Commanders?
No, I would own Thursdays. No. Yeah, of course.
You own all 32 teams if you own Thursday Night Football.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought Mario was going to say this, and Mario might hate me for thinking this. I thought you were going to say like Matthew McConaughey. It's like what I thought.
Dude, I mean, he's a legend, but I don't know. He by Texas. He owns freaking Texas Longhorns, anyways. Woo! Woo! All righty. Yeah, good place to end. And by the way, famous guy from DC, we missed it. Kevin Durant. He would need help.
Oh, I hate Kevin Durant. He would try to trade his team.
Yeah. He would request a trade from him, from like his own team. If I want to be traded to
You're right.
England.
He'd be calling other NFL owners saying, let's switch franchises.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here anymore. Durant's moves are crazy, Mario. How can you grow up in that area and then go to the University of Texas, which is not a basketball school, and then you go from Texas and you obviously Oklahoma State or Seattle, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma City, Golden State, and New Jersey's a mess, and everything. Excuse me, New Jersey, Brooklyn's a mess, and then now with the Suns, he's all over the place all the time. He's never happy. That guy's never happy. I would never bring in a guy that's not stable. Do you think Kevin Durant's stable?
No, not even a little bit. That's why I love him. He's so and they're not going to win. The Suns aren't going to win. I still think they're going to fall apart. They're going to fall apart on that. I don't know. That's KD will get hurt again probably or something.
That's awesome. All right, we're gonna get on out of here. We're all over the place. A lot of NBA we jumped into. Anyway, again, we want to thank Eric Parker for joining us at the beginning of the show. It's great catching up with Eric. I know we'll bring him on again, but it was a lot of fun talking a little bit of old Charger days and Marty Schottenheimer, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, all the guys that people remember. And again, we'll be back next week. We'll talk more Charger football with you as we get closer to the draft, give you some ideas of what we're hearing, what the Chargers are going to do. Could there be a possible trade? We'll let you know what's going to happen. Again, for Mario Herron, Josh Palet, I'm Dave Palet. We'll see you next time on the Bolt City podcast, courtesy of Odyssey.